This is Rhea, and this is Just the Who of Us, where we talk about a range of topics, including life events, current events, spirituality, entertainment, family relationships, as well as answering listener questions and more. I want to talk about the card deck. First of all, if you haven't gotten yours, I will put the link in the description so that you can pick it up. If you follow me on Facebook, you've seen the reels, YouTube. I've done the reels for the first 4.
You're so good. You're so good. But here's the card deck, Worrier to Warrior, so they know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that might be important too.
Minor detail. It's the little things.
I did these reels and I'm like sick as crap. And I'm like, you know what? I said I was gonna do this and I'm gonna do these, and maybe later I'll go back and do them where I look a little bit better. But for now, here they are. They're there, and I got this out here.
Right.
So I started with the first 4. So the admission, cleansing, and celebration. These I kind of dug a little bit into. We're going to go into the cycle of A's also, just because I feel like those are kind of important. Mm-hmm. But at some point, especially since you are our monthly recurring guest, you're here all the time. We have plenty of time to talk. We're going to go through the whole card deck gradually.
Cool. So let's explain why there's 4. The first one is kind of like an introduction to the next 3. That's why you said 4: admission, cleansing, celebration. Just the math of it is, guys.
When I did the reels, I was like, okay, card 1, and then I was like, I go back and I'm like,
oh, that's card 2.
I was like, well, where's card 1? Because that's card 2.
Right.
So yeah. So anyway, Martin, take it away.
So basically I set up so there are 4 cards, and the first one kind of talks about, it's like an introduction to what you're going to get into. Mm-hmm. And I start with these cards on purpose because here you are, you're buying this card deck, you're buying the book, you're doing the work, but you've got to set the foundation, right? And the foundation starts with admission, cleansing, and celebration. Mm-hmm. And at the heart of it, it starts with admission. So I put that first card there saying, okay, you're picking up these cards, you're going to the book, you're watching it, whatever it is, for a reason. Mm-hmm. So let's get honest with ourselves and say, well, what is that reason? Okay. So if you can't do that, then put the rest of the cards away, because they don't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's that simple. You'll pick up a card in a minute. Wow, this is great. Yeah, it is great. But if you're not willing to do the work, it's just another thing out there that you're saying, okay, I'm going to do this. It's like people say, yeah, I'm going to start exercising. Oh, I'm going to buy this video. I'm going to do this machine. It doesn't matter what the machine or the video is.
Yeah.
It could be the worst machine or the worst video. But if you're getting on it every day and you're doing it, you're going to see results. You're going to lose weight. You're going to feel better. It doesn't matter what it is. But if you buy it and put it on the shelf, or if it's like those treadmills that are basically your extra clothes hanger.
My grandma.
Yeah, I bought that treadmill and it never worked. Well, of course, you didn't even plug it in.
My grandma has a bike like that, super old timey bike. And forever it just sat in her room. And I was like, can I just have this bike? Like, you're not gonna use it.
And then also she'll go, no, I'm gonna use it tomorrow.
Well, she's like 94 at this point.
Oh, okay.
She's not using any kind of bike, but
okay.
I finally waited long enough to get it.
Right. Exactly. All right. So it's like anything. So tell me what you thought about it as you were reading the cards.
So I'm going through, I'm reading admission. The first thing that stood out to me was actually the first line: admit the way you're living now is not working. And I was like, oh, like, it seems like such a simple thing to say. Well, yeah, it's admission. I have to admit to something. But it's like, first of all, I got to take a second to acknowledge there's something in my life that's not working.
Right.
And that is a lot of times the hardest step. Like,
And
why
here I am smacking you in the face in the first line.
the first line, right? Okay, we're gonna dive right into this one, huh? Okay, tell me about myself. Um, you know, I kind of I related it to what we've been talking about a lot, expectations, changing my reactions into responses. Um, I've been working on it for a while, especially since I read the book.
Mhm.
Um, you know, so that's kind of what I stuck with. And I was like, okay, well, I've already been working on this gradually.
Yeah,
Let me stick with it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Admitting that while I very, very rarely, and I'm not going to say never because I have done it in the past year, but while I
There are
don't,
no absolutes out there.
right. While I don't often do this anymore, cursing or screaming at someone when I have repeated myself and,
Mhm.
have create this excuse. Well, I've said it nicely, whatever. Yelling and screaming, cursing at people is not the way to go.
Right, right, right.
My reactions and my expectations are the things that I need to keep working on. I've done better, but I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
So that was, I said, okay, this is going to be the thing. I'm going to admit to myself that reacting to things in a negative way it's not the way, it's not working. So we're going to keep moving and working on that.
Right. So
Um,
now you've put that into the universe.
yeah.
It's out there,
Yeah.
which we'll get into in the second part of what we're talking about, but you can utilize it here as well.
Right.
We've asked the universe, okay, I'm declaring it, even if I'm not declaring it to my spouse or to whoever. And I in the book, I don't know if you remember, there's a point where I go, don't go telling people you're reading this book and that you're going to change. They're like,
Right.
they're like, my editor looked at the book and she's like, what are you doing? You're telling people not to promote your book? I'm like, no, but I'm saying wait until it works, because nobody cares that you're gonna change.
Yes, 100%. Yeah,
They
you
want to
can.
see the change,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they don't want you to say, oh, Ray, you're so wonderful, what a great thing you've done. They're like, okay, now she's who she should be.
yeah,
That's what they're thinking.
yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, 100%. I remember that part in the book, and I was like, it made sense to me because it's like, I relate a lot of things to parenting just because I've been a parent for so long. you know, if I say, okay, this is the routine that we have to stick to. I'm late for so many things. And part of it goes so deep, but part of it is that I have this emotional connection to certain things. Every time I get in the car, I have to go and stop here and it throws things off sometimes. It's a
Right.
big thing. My family hates my tardiness. I'm working on it.
Okay. There's an admission part of it.
I gotta work on the emotional component.
Right.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
the issue will be, resolved.
Okay. And guys out there, we're not looking for you to take down the mountain all in one night.
Right.
She said, I'm going to work on it. I'm working on
Mhm.
it. Right now, you're working on your reactions and your expectations.
Yeah.
You'll also have your expectations within yourself about the time. That'll come. If you try to do it all at once, you'll definitely fail. Because
Yes.
if one of them don't happen, you're going to beat yourself up and say, what the hell am I doing this for?
hmm Well, it's called a process for a reason. It's not overnight success. It's a
Right.
process.
Right. Exactly. And that kind of leads to the second card. I mean, unless there's anything more you want to talk about the first card, but that leads
No.
to the second card, which is cleansing.
hmm
So, cleansing is about doing the things that now you've admitted is not wrong differently.
Yeah. Yep. Putting into place the changes that are necessary
Right?
for the
It's that
things that you want
simple.
to change.
It's
Yeah.
that simple. It's not rocket science. It's not where you're saying, oh, uh, uh, I can never do this. Well, as soon as you say that, you're right. You can never do it.
Yeah.
But if you say, today, I'm going to try to not react, that's the beginning of the cleansing process.
Yeah. putting into place, and even with expectations. So I had a situation come up not too long ago. Now mind you, I've been working on expectations ever since I read the book, because I don't know, it's just that stood out to me so much.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's funny because our journeys are a little similar in a good bit of places. But so I've been working on expectations for a while. I had this conversation recently, and the person that I had the conversation with, they were kind of like offended a little bit. And like you also talked about in the book, people's reactions, right?
Yep.
We're making these changes to our lives. First of all, if we're somebody who's said before we were going to change things and didn't, people already kind of don't expect us to follow through, right?
There she goes again.
So and two, people are gonna have their responses, whether it's they don't expect you to follow through, or they haven't read the book, they don't know you, they haven't, have no connection with you. So they don't know if this even works, because
Right.
they don't know nothing about it.
Right.
People are gonna have their responses regardless, no matter what emotion that response is charged by.
But
So
it's about, are you going to react to their responses, or are you going to say, you know what, they just don't get the bigger picture?
right. Yes. So I said, I won't go into detail about what the situation exactly, but something didn't go the way that I wanted to. And initially I got a little frustrated. When I talked to this person face to face, I said, you know, it's okay. I'm going to work on changing my expectations for this kind of situation. And they were like, well, what do you mean? Like, they kind of took it as an insult. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm not, I don't mean this to be insulting. I'm trying to work on myself. And sometimes, I have to change. If, if what's, if, if what is around me, if the situation around you is not working, I can't get my tongue to work right. If the situation around you is not working, sometimes you need to change your expectations of the situation.
Right. Exactly.
So instead of, me being upset about this that keeps happening, I'm going to change my expectation of it. And then when it doesn't go the way I want it to, it's less likely to go the way I want it to, because I don't expect it to go this certain way anymore. And it's not that I'm being insulting. It's
Right.
really just about me trying to work on myself.
Right. And part of that has to do is you may be setting up expectations that they don't even know you have for them.
Yes, because most of the time people don't. Most of the time people don't know that we have these expectations because we don't tell them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'll give
We
you a
argue in
very
our own
weird
mind.
example. Some of the greatest ball players are the worst coaches
Mm,
because they understand, like Ted Williams, who's one of the greatest baseball hitters ever,
mhm.
could be a coach. Michael Jordan, I'm pretty sure, wouldn't be a great coach
Yeah,
because they understand what has to be done. But they don't, so they go to somebody else, okay, just do this. But to that other person, just do this doesn't compute.
right, right, yeah.
And to Michael Jordan's credit, nobody worked harder than him. He was not, he was cut from the first basketball team he was on in high school. And then he's like, okay, I got to work at it. And he's the first guy in the gym and the last guy to leave.
Yeah.
No matter what. So, and if you're there with him and you're saying I'm going to outlast Michael Jordan, you're not, because he's waiting for you to leave before he
Right.
leaves. So it's the same thing here. You have an expectation. I use this example in the book. I walk by a garbage can. I don't even see it. I don't even see the garbage can. Now, that's a man thing. 99% of the men. It's a generalization, I know, but most men will not see that garbage can. They just won't. Right? In the meantime, my wife will walk by and see it and go, it's full.
Yeah.
Why isn't he
Why is
taking
he
it
not
out?
taking the trash out? Yeah.
Why is he not taking it out? It's full.
Yeah.
You know, and I do that. Also, I see the kids doing it. They
Mm.
put in the recycle. It's overflowing. Like, at what point do they realize I am not the housekeeper? They could take it out as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, and the day goes on, and I don't even know that it's there, and she's festering.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we have a conversation about something completely different. Now she's already on edge because the garbage can is in her mind.
Yes.
So she loses it
Yeah.
about something that's completely innocuous on him. And all of a sudden, and you didn't even take out the garbage. He's like, the hell are you talking about?
Right.
What garbage?
Garbage. No,
It's the same thing. It's just an idea.
I remember that example in the book. And you know what's funny? My husband and I, we bitch and gripe all the time at one point. Maybe not all the time, but we complain about stuff. Every time I go into a bathroom, I clean it. Why is it dirty?
Right.
Every time I go in there. Every
Right.
time I, whatever. And if I tell one of my kids, go clean the toilet, go empty, go take the trash out, whatever, cool, they go do it. There's no argument. I'm noticing these things. They're not noticing that. Like, we forget that kids go to school, they have social lives, like they have things that their brain is focusing on too. They're
Right.
kids and teenagers, so they have their self their, I can't think of the word, like their self perceptions.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Their perceptions of their self, they have, all these things that their young brains are dealing with and working out. And we're just over here like, they should also be doing all these things because that's what I want done. Well,
They don't know
I
it.
tell them, go do it. They'll think about it and they'll go do it. It's fine.
Right. My 16-year-old son has become Mr. Swole. He's working out all the time, and he's also prepping meals for the week.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's great. But if
Yeah.
I don't tell him, by the way, when you're done, you better clean the kitchen, he'll walk away and not even notice that he just left a tornado.
Yes. That's one of my daughters making breakfast.
It's about, okay, now that you're aware of it, I please go clean the kitchen.
Right. Well, and two, it's okay. Something I talked about in last week's episode too, our approach to things, expressing, like verbalizing our expectations and giving people a chance to process it and put it into action. Especially with kids, it takes time sometimes. But if you stay on top of them about things and in a manner like not riding their ass,
Exactly,
like not being like,
and it's a hard line to travel.
I know. It's, but our responses, rather, when they do these things, not yelling at them and saying, hey, I need you to blah blah blah,
Yeah.
Our approach to the situation too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, if I tell them to go do it, they'll go do it. It's fine. Just
Right.
because I'm thinking about it in the moment doesn't mean they're necessarily thinking about it in the moment, but they do it if I tell them to. So start telling them more. I don't know, remind them more.
Exactly. And you may have to say it in a different way.
Yeah.
Just to get to the point. So that's the cleansing part. So, then we come up to the last part. So they're like, people are saying, I don't understand. What does celebration have to do with it? Because, okay, so you didn't react as harshly this time, but you still reacted. So celebrate that you reacted less.
Yeah. You're
celebrate that your expectations were reduced a little bit. That's the celebration. And it has to be in little pieces, because if you're waiting for you to go from reacting to responding, it's never going to happen if you don't celebrate the little victories along the way and become aware of what's going on as you're changing.
Yeah. When I first was reading the cards, because it's the first 4 cards in the deck, and so I get to celebration and I'm like, before reading them, just look at them, I'm like, all right, we're admitting, we're cleansing. I was like, wait, we're celebrating already, but this is only card 4. And then when I actually went through and I was making the reels and I was actually reading the cards and applying them to my life and things like that, I was like, oh, I get it. So we're working on things, we're making small changes in our lives, and they're worth celebrating. The small changes are worth celebrating because they are stepping stones to a bigger path.
Your past,
So it
right?
made so much more
Exactly.
sense.
Exactly. And the idea of this, why I put it first, is because I want you to have this message while you're going through the cards, while you're going through the book, to say, oh, wait a minute. He's not asking me to change overnight. He's also
Right.
showing me that he didn't change overnight.
Yeah.
He's giving me examples. Martin is talking about the struggles he went through. People tell me, oh my God, you're so vulnerable in this book. I'm like, yes, because if I'm not, who am I talking to? I'm talking in a vacuum then.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband, he says this to me the other day. He's like, every time I start reading your autobiography, I read a little bit and then I have to put it down for a little bit. He said, because I know you. He's like, I'm reading this book and I'm like, there's certain things that I'm like, I don't know if I can know this much about this person all at once. Like, he's like, it's because I tried to put my emotions and my thoughts into it thoroughly. So it's like you can kind of walk through that with me. And the book, the beginning, I start, each chapter is about something, and the events aren't necessarily in chronological order, but I try to do it in a way where you can see the changes from chapter 1
Right.
to the last chapter.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he's like, I have to read it in sections because it's a lot of emotion to
Yeah.
connect with
Absolutely. I
one
get it.
person.
I totally get it. 100%.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about here. So it's about me now setting the stage for the rest of the cards, right? Because if you're not setting the stage now, if you're going into the next section of the cards, which happens to be the cycle of A's, and you're saying to yourself, okay, how can I apply the admission, cleansing, and celebration into the cycle of A's? How can I then apply it into stop, think, and respond? How can I apply it? It's about, for every section, it's about understanding that there's a process that has to happen and that you can't just go from A to Z. You've got to go to A to B to C to D. You may go to J and then say, wait a second, I jumped too far. I better get back to E, F, G. It's like that.
Yeah. I was looking, so those of you who haven't purchased the book, I'm just like a living Martin promotion over here. I love all the things.
Thank you.
So I'm looking at the book and I was looking at the chapters, just kind of curious as to, because I didn't look at this before.
Right.
And I'm like, are the sections of the cards kind of like in the order of the sections in the book? And they are, because chapter 1 is admission, cleansing, and celebration. Chapter 4 is the cycle of A's, ask, act, attitude. Right. So I just thought that was kind of cool too, that, if you have the cards, not the book, you should get the book. Yeah. And then have both, and you can kind of have the whole thing,
100%. So people are like, well, why does he have the cards if he's got the book? Or why does he have the book if he's got the cards? And I think part of what happened was, the first thing is the cards came first, even though the book was in works.
Right.
Okay? Because I put my course together.
Yeah.
The book is based on my course and the cards are based on my course. But what happened was that as I was doing my course, I said, you know what? The people need something when they're not watching the course. They need something tangible.
Yeah.
I came up with the cards. And then I was like, okay, great. This will be a great addition to the book. Either if it's the first thing you're getting, okay, so now you're getting an idea of what I'm going to be going through in the cards. If it's something where you've gone through the book, then you're like, oh, today I'm not feeling great. Let me find that card instead of having to look for the book, because the cards you can carry along with you all the time. You can't get the book too, but you can carry the cards with you.
Yeah.
And just let me pull out a card today and see what it says. Some people even look at it as almost tarot-like. Let me just pull out a card and it has a message that they need to hear that day.
Oh, I never thought about it like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and the cards are a good size too. So
Yeah.
here's the book and the cards. So, like you said, you can carry the book, but the
Right.
cards are there. I mean, if you carry a purse, you can stick them in your purse. If you don't carry a purse, you have
Right.
like
Right.
pocket.
Exactly.
You could probably stick these in a.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So now we could move on to the cycle of A's, right? We get
Yeah.
the idea of admission, cleansing, and celebration. And guys, if you're not getting it enough, it's okay. Go get the cards. Go get the book.
Yeah, yeah. And take your time too. I mean, like I said, I've personally I've done, I keep wanting to say the first three, but
Yeah.
I've done the first set, the
Right.
first section, if
Yeah.
you will.
I had a woman buy the cards for me when I was at a speaker convention for a week. She bought it on the first couple of days. And then she came back to me 3 days later and said, I'm on card 1. And I'm staying on card 1 because first thing is, thank you for giving me the permission to admit what's not working.
Yeah, yeah.
So she needed my permission. She needed someone to tell her what's not working isn't helping,
Yeah.
So I happen to have been the conduit to give her that.
Yeah. I'm gonna put a question in the chat real quick just because I don't want to forget about it, but I want to ask it toward the end after we talk about this other stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, so let's dive into the cycle of A's. So I kind of wanted to do this with you because, like I said, I did the first 3 on my own.
Okay.
But I do want to kind of piggyback off what you said. Do it at your own pace. And if you, because I was already kind of in this process because I read the book and I'd already started it. That's why I was able to do 1 through 3
right
kind of back to back.
Yeah.
If
You
you
had
are
the foundation of the book. You had the foundation of talking to me for a while.
right. But if you're kind of just jumping in on this, stay on that first card. It may take you some time to actually find the thing to admit to.
Right. And that doesn't mean don't look at the other cards, but
Right.
understand that's the beauty of it. There's
Right.
no rules how you do this.
Yeah.
You could look at the cards and say, okay, overall, this is a lot. I can't handle all this. Okay, great. At least you have an overall seeing what it is, picture of what it is. Now go back and figure out which ones you feel like you need to start with. Could be admission.
Yeah.
That could be, I want to admit it, but I don't know, how to admit it. Okay. Think about it a little bit. Reach out to somebody, somebody that you feel comfortable with. It could be a coach. What I love about coaches in general, good coaches are there to support and be objective.
Yes.
And make you accountable.
Oddly, we're actually not here to tell you what to do with your life.
If it is, send me $1 million.
Right. Right. The process is more important than
exactly.
I feel like people kind of think that's what coaching is. Like, I'm going to go to this person, they're going to tell me what I need to do. And it's not. It has to be more of a hand-in-hand kind of learning process. More than just
now, how long is this going to take? I mean, how long are we going to be coaching me? Well, that's kind of up to you.
Right. And the fun thing about coaching too is that we get to learn in the process because I know for a fact that throughout your coaching career, there's things that you've learned and picked up from the people that you have coached. And that's important too. It's important as, maybe even somebody who is considering coaching, but has no experience in it. And I'm going to ask a question toward the end that kind of.
And I have coaches in my life. I have multiple coaches in my life.
Yeah.
Different areas of my business. In my life, my business, my whatever. I have these people in my life that I go to for certain things. And, the cycle of A's comes, the basis of it comes from a coach who's made a huge amount of difference in my life. And I credit her in the book. Her name is Genevieve Davis.
Yeah.
Right? The magic is within you. It's becoming magic. It's this whole magic thing. And the cycle of A's, to get into it, is kind of like taking what everybody's heard about, the law of attraction, and understanding that it's not just thinking about what goes on. That's not about what you want.
Yeah.
It's not going to get you what you want. Right? It's not like, oh, let me go buy a lottery ticket and tomorrow I'll be a multimillionaire. It doesn't work that way. If it was, we'd all be multimillionaires because we all bought a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't go buy a lottery ticket. As a
Right.
matter of fact, 20 years ago, I'll never forget, I was in synagogue and it was during a weekday. And the boys were like, oh, there's a $500 million lottery. Let's all join together and, pool it. And we're like, Rabbi, you want to get in on it? And he's like, nope, I'm going to buy one ticket. If God wants me to win, that one ticket will win it.
That's
But
right.
here's the thing. You got to be in it to win it. So
Right.
if you're spending $2, okay. You're not buying $500 worth of tickets saying, oh my God, I've got to win. I'm going to put all my, and that's when the cycle of A's really starts to come into play.
Yeah. It's funny because like the picture kind of reminds me of the wellness wheel that I talked a lot about. It really does. It's something that it's a thing that you have, like the wellness wheel, you have to kind of put all these aspects in together.
Right.
And just try to put one and not use the other. It's not going to happen anyway because they coincide.
They feed into each other. It's a perpetual motion. Becomes a perpetual motion. That's why I did it in a cycle.
Yeah.
So for those guys out there who are saying, okay, so what are the cycle of A's? It's 3-letter A's that come into play. The first one is ask. For example, Rhea asked, okay, I want to stop reacting. I want to start responding. That's the ask. You're putting it out into the universe. You're asking God. You're asking yourself. You're making yourself aware of those things that are not working. Right? That's the admission. Again, it's another way of doing the admission, but it's expanding it. Admission is what's not working. Okay. Asking is saying, well, what do I want it to work?
Right.
What do I want it to look like? Right. So I want it to be, in this case, reacting. I want to be able to respond. Okay. So that's the first part. Ask. Even if it's just to yourself, putting it out there into the ether of the world is what starts it.
Yeah.
And that's where the law of attraction starts to happen. But that's not enough. Then you have to act. You got to do something for it, or do the cleansing part.
Yeah, because that's an action too. Taking those baby steps are actions.
Right. So how am I going to stop reacting? Well, I might have to go to stop, think, and respond. They're like, what's that? Well, read the book.
Right.
Or get the cards. But it's basically giving yourself a permission to not have to answer the second you hear something.
Yeah. One thing I talked about last week too was, I have this friend, and she was in a situation where she needed to confront someone. She did it super respectfully. I was so proud of her. She was very respectful about it. And we were talking about that other person responding. Mm-hmm. I said, this is one thing that I tell my kids too, specifically my younger one. My older kids are pretty good about not mouthing off, not talking back. But my youngest, he's 8. He's still learning certain things that my teenagers have already learned. So I find myself with him, hey, first of all, not everything that comes to your brain has to come out your mouth. Second of all, not everything needs a response.
Right.
Sometimes, and in conversation, in confrontation, sometimes things just need to be said, respectfully given time to process.
Right.
We were talking about the difference in, texting someone and having conversation in person, because in person or voice, you feel obligated, right, to like give some kind of response. If I say something to my kids and they don't respond, I'm like, okay, but I need some kind of response, because I need to know you heard me, just not a disrespectful one.
Right.
Yes.
Acknowledgement.
I heard whatever.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah, like, something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always need to be, well, here's my whole thoughts and feelings about this. Sometimes things are just meant to be heard,
Right.
given time to process. And it's okay to give people time to process their response to what you say to them
Yeah. And
or your
one of the
actions
things
towards them.
I learned along the way that I try to do even more often now is if I know that I might react, even now, because there are times I still react, I try to go to this one line, which kind of like deflects the need to have to react.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, that's interesting.
Mm.
Right now, you're giving yourself a moment to collect yourself.
Oh, okay.
And you're telling them, I heard you.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready to answer.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, what's interesting about it? Nobody ever says that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh, yeah. Why? Well, I got to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
See what's coming up for me. If you have that kind of relationship with somebody, you can say that.
Yeah.
And if you're looking, and what happens is, and I'm guilty of this too. When it's somebody that you feel that you're related to, that you have a close relationship with, your wife, your husband, your family, your children, your mother, your sister, whoever, you feel like you could be the real you and just freak out. What's wrong with you becoming the real you of who you are to everybody else when you don't freak out on them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I can't be disrespectful to the gas station guy, So use that for your mother.
Yeah. Well, we do this because we know that these people will still love us afterward.
Exactly. But after a while, they don't. Like my ex. And to tell you, I've said it before. It was the greatest gift she ever gave me was asking me for the divorce.
Yeah.
Okay. But I was afraid she wasn't going to love me. So lots of times I gave in just because I was out of fear of love.
Well, yeah. Well, and you said too, well, me changing, working on myself and changing myself, my kids see that and my kids are benefiting, not so much my ex-wife. But in reality, I think that she is too, because you changing and working on yourself, just like me with my ex, it benefits our kids because we're teaching them. But it also benefits those former relationships because they're not going to be in that same place anymore.
Yeah, that's a longer conversation we can have another time. But yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about it. Just know we're under the gun for time. That's why I said that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, I haven't just realized it's been an hour already. So
right. It's almost an hour. You. But just to hang up, so to close the cycle.
Yeah.
So you have ask the universe for what it is you want. Act. Start doing the things you got to do to get what you want.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is the hardest, but it's probably the most important, is release the emotions attached to it and have an attitude of, I don't care about the outcome.
Yeah.
That's the attitude. And it's like, they're like, what the frick did he just say?
Yeah.
You mean, it's like, yeah, buying the lottery ticket. You want a lottery ticket. You want $1 million. Okay, I bought a lottery ticket. That's the ask.
Yeah.
The ask is, I want $1 million.
Yeah.
The act is, I bought the lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Now the attitude has, I know I'm probably not going to win this, so I'm going to put it on the shelf, and when the numbers come out, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God, it's 2 minutes to 10. I can't wait. Let me see. It's going to come. Here come the numbers.
Yeah. Well, and that's your expectations. That is, knowing how to navigate your expectations, change your expectations to more realistic expectations too.
And it's the hardest part, and you will fail.
Yeah.
And don't give up. It's about, okay, and here's the big thing that I learned from Genevieve. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, there are many bad things in the world, bad things happening right now in the world.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what's happening. Right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Your reaction isn't going to change what already happened. Okay. But your response may change how you see it and how it affects you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The first time I kind of put this into play, changing my expectation, and so that I responded instead of instantly reacting negatively. I kind of did it looking back for a selfish reason. I said, you know what? Okay, well, since you can't meet my expectation, I'm going to change it. And which really was kind of not the best way to do it because I'm changing my expectation. My attitude is kind of still the same because I'm
Right.
doing it because of what you didn't do right.
Right.
In
Right.
reality, I go back and I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to changing my attitude. I need to change my expectation because it's not realistic.
Right.
Not because you did this wrong,
Hmm.
because it's not realistic, because of
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
Don't dive into the negatives of it. I need
Yeah.
to
I have
change
a
it because it's
perfect
not realistic.
example that I talk about a lot, and it leads into the next section of cards, which is stop, think, and respond, but it'll apply here as well.
Yeah.
So I'm getting divorced, and my ex would call me up about stuff, and she'd say, I don't want to fight, but now
Mm-hmm.
for me, that was a trigger that I didn't understand at the time. And to me, over the phone, what I heard was, let's get ready to rumble.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, here we go. And I start freaking out
Yeah.
because she already said, and then she'd tell me what it is, and I would just react and I just lose it. And she said, but I told you I don't want to fight. So two
Yeah.
things happened here. Number one, she set me up. And I'm not saying she did it consciously because she probably didn't. But number
Right.
two, I lived up to the expectations of the fight
Oh,
so that she
yeah.
could then turn around and say, you see, you're a fighter.
Yeah.
So what I did was the complete opposite. Once I started to become aware of it, I wasn't self-aware yet. I was aware.
Right.
I'd say, oh, okay, goodbye. And I'd hang up on her. That was going from one extreme to the other. She called me up, what the hell did you just do? He said, well, you just said you didn't want to fight. So I decided I wasn't going to fight.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen to people. They're going to go from this extreme to this extreme, from all the way to the left, all the way to the right. And you got to find a happy medium.
Yeah.
It comes with trial and error.
Well, and kind of what I was saying earlier too,
Yeah.
people aren't gonna open arm welcome your changes because they're
Nope.
not used to them. And so
Nope.
you kind of have to have this expectation that people are gonna have their responses. I need to just continue to focus on my attitude about the
That's it.
situation and get to that end goal.
That's it. There's a part in the book where there's 5 different types of arguments you can have. And one
Uh-huh.
is you don't have to accept the invitation to every argument you get.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it becomes the thing of, I'm not going to rumble.
Yes. Yeah. So I want to ask you really quick,
Yeah.
before we get off here. I can't believe so much time went by already.
That's what happens with us.
I know. So my question to you is, because I feel like people might have this question. So there's the book is available, the cards are available. Why coaching still?
Right.
If I can just read these things, then why utilize the coaching?
Okay. If you believe you're the kind of person that can take it in and change just like that, then maybe not coaching. But you need somebody who you can go through the process, who'll be there for you, who's non-judgmental, who's supportive, who's going to hold you to the fire in a supportive way by being your accountability partner, by saying, okay, so give me some examples that you're doing and how the outcome is.
Right.
Right. So you go, oh, this is what I did, and blah, 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 and this is what happened. Okay. So now, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And what do you think you can do next time to make it a better experience for you, for the other person, for whatever the situation is? Right. Now, if you can
Right.
do that on your own and have the self-introspection, then go for it. But you need somebody there to, in the beginning especially, to hold you accountable in a safe space of support and not judgmental. Now, why do I use those words? Because you can get support from your family, but even if they're not being judgmental, you believe they are.
Yeah. It's also,
It's the emotional charge.
it's also why they say don't don't provide services to your own family member, right? If I'm a licensed therapist, I'm not going to provide therapy to my kids because
Right.
I'm too close.
Too close. Too close. Exactly right. Exactly right. Same thing with like, don't operate on your child.
Right. Right. Right.
You're too emotionally attached to them not dying.
Right. Exactly. Well, hopefully you are anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
All right. Let everybody know where we can find you.
So you can go to connectwithmartin.com. How's that for simple enough?
Right.
Just connectwithmartin.com. You can go there and there's links to buy the book, buy the cards. One link will take you directly to buy the cards. Another one will take you to Amazon because it's listed on Amazon, and you can leave a review if you want. That'll be great. Good or bad. I'll take whatever review you got, even the 1 stars, because look, it's not perfect,
Right.
but it's something. It's like we said earlier, it's the exercise machine you might need.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you as always for being here, and can't wait till next time.
All right. Have a great day. And don't forget, live incredibly full every day.
Visit www.philolity.net. That's FALOLITY, where you can purchase your own copy of Surviving Mom Brain and Dad Brain workbooks, as well as my autobiography.
Adios, mi amigo.